fourth topic was the equality between women and men, presented by the women NGOs. Thank you. Well, the total participation was 14 panelists and 60 participants in Madrid. Okay, we have ProInfo give to us this review of Spanish visits of JoiEU platform until 26 March. This is the next slide is about the evaluation of the participant in Madrid. This is the the score from 1 to 5, and I think they were very generous because their score is quite high. We had a lot of technical problems during the debate. Yeah. Okay, the next slide is about the impact on Twitter. The information about the JoiEU project and its activities are printed in 55 times in the search of Twitter, of the platform of JoiEU hashtag with 70 retweets, 2,816 followers. Okay, conclusions about the debate. I think it's the last one. Yeah. Okay. We concluded that is needed for the construction of the common European identity rooted in the values of solidarity, equality, and social rights exposed by the Spanish social NGOs. Europe must drive a new participation channels with citizens' initiative, say ECAS, investigation presented show that the young people are biggest users of the new possibilities democracy participative. New fast mechanisms are demanded to react against political crisis in the case of Ukraine. The case was presented by the Bulgarian research. And the European project can be taking away their dignity to people who are in danger. They are working to alleviate the effects of the crisis with an emergency organization. Don't forget the need to work to promote structural change and to be closer to the people, say Red Cross. The denial of the right to decide removes the voice and invisible people can break Europe, say the Disability Confederation. And today there is a growing mass of European citizens who feel increasingly insecure with diversity. There has been growing sentiments against the Treaty of Rome and the xenophobic racism. Moreover, democratic guarantees are endangered and many citizens are unhappy with democratic institutions. Civil society must be part of the solution. Civil society can be the voice of the most vulnerable people, empowering them to vigorously denounce new situation, say open society. For the project, our main conclusion, I think maybe we can share. The debate was very short. We couldn't convene the question from Madrid to Brussels or Bulgaria. Was almost impossible. We had many technical problems. Even after check the perfect working of the Wi-Fi and all that the day before, was impossible to prevent that. We need to know better the different campaigns because it's possible needed to build a global campaign and not efforts between NGOs. For future events, we think maybe we need a technical training, but yeah, we have a manual, yes, and we had opportunity to have a training before the debate, but maybe we need more information about that. We realized that the actuality is better, is stronger than a topic that we prepare. In this case, was the actuality was about Ukraine, and maybe we need to be more spontaneous and flexible, and to debate about this case that was in the actuality more than the prepare some topics and all that. Maybe we need to work more in social media to promote participation online. That's all.
Thank you very much. So more training is needed, better preparation, flexibility in terms of choosing the topics, because while we are planning, there are certain events that take place throughout Europe, and maybe we need to be up to date when having discussions. Thank you very much, Marisa. Now we will hear from our Albanian colleague, Ms. Blerina Guga, who is representing Partners Albania, and they were also very active in our debates.
Thank you. I'll stay here because I really need those slides of mine. Hello, everyone. Thank you, dear partners. I'm happy to see all of us together, not just for the sake of seeing each other, because we're continued of doing good works together, and we'll know better, more a bit late. Well, I'm Blerina Guga. I'm project manager of Partners Albania, a foundation founded back to 2009 that works to build capacity of three main pillars of democracy, I would say: state institutions, NGOs, and local governed institutions, and promote dialogue, vice versa, among these partners of governance and democracy, in order to promote transparency and good governance. We were happy and very interesting and very curious to be part of the JoiEU project, because it was an attractive way of interacting, of doing e-conference, e-debates. And if you see later on the data of Albanian viewers of the debates, we're glad to see that our curious nation keeps following even this kind of debates. In every debate there have been approximately 200 to 300 followers from Albania, which is a good surprise for us. But it is a good number that shows that people are interested and they're learning through participating, through following, even in the this kind of e-process. We, the partners of the JoiEU project, which final event is this one, we met just once in mid-October in Bulgaria, in Sofia, but up to that point, we exchanged thousands of emails, hundreds of emails, of papers, signing agreements. But we did it, and we ended up having very nice dialogues and online conferences and debates. And as a result of it, 9 of us are engaged in another exciting action following this one. Could you please have? Me personally, I participated in 6 other debates. I was in our house, I was in Belgrade, I don't remember anymore when I was, but I didn't travel from my office. I just prepared, I just searched and prepared my presentation, but I reached the audience of all of these debates, and not me as Blerina, but the work of my office of Partners Albania. And what's interesting, not only my office, but other partners from Albania too. We invited many other NGOs, such as European Movement Albania, the MIAFT movement in Albania, and Communities CST Albania, to give their recommendation and their saying in all the topics that their work was related. And this was very interesting, because when I approached them that I need your expertise for a conference in Belgrade, oh no, I cannot travel. You don't need to travel. Just prepare and we will be online to share your findings, your recommendation. And this is a very nice and interesting way of interacting and bringing other people together, because as a result of that, the other partners of mine got connected with our organization. They got emails, they got Facebook messages in order to develop potential collaborations with other partners across Europe. Well, I didn't travel, but I worked a lot to achieve and to keep these things going on. the conference that we held in October in Albania on social enterprises development took a lot of work on research, coordinating, drafting policy papers, consulting local and international experts on the fields. So it had a lot of work to be done until we came up to the conference. And we had our conference in October. We had more or less 65 participants on board. But we had another very nice panel of 6 organizations online which contributed to the debate on development of social enterprises, which is quite a very nice topic that's being developing across Europe. Is social business, is both social and business, and how to make these two work together for the good of the citizens and the people in need. One of my colleagues mentions that after the European crisis, we need to redimension the social burdens of our society. We have to redefine people in need. We have to redefine vulnerable groups all across Europe. I travel Europe from Istanbul to Belgrade, sorry, to Brussels yesterday because my flight was arranged like that. And Europe is wide, Europe is different, but we all have the same, share the same values, the same vision for the future. But we have to work a lot toward that. And the miracle world democracy, it needs a lot of work to be maintained. We think we already built democracy in Europe, but from Greece we're getting message that democracy needs to be fed. Democracy needs to be transparent. Democracy needs heirs and needs the people. So back to the debate that we had in Tirana in October. It was very nice to share the opinions of both European countries and to have even the insight of the UK expert on the social enterprises. Despite the national experience and different origins of the speakers, our panelists from Belgium, Croatia, Czech Republic, Italy, Serbia, and the UK had some common recommendation related to the development of social enterprises in Europe. I don't know how many of you have heard of this kind of new enterprise developing, but it is a form that brings together business with a social impact, a sort of business that employs people with in disadvantages situation, people with disability, people part of marginalized group, and this kind of business reinvests the profits within the enterprise, and that's what makes it social and not profitable. And the European Commission since 2013 has a definition on it, has it a part of its strategies, and now what we have to do to make the best out of these strategies. The recommendation of our partners were as following. In local decision-making, there is need of deeper understanding of social enterprises, because as long as you mention businesses, local authorities are taxes. But no, while you explain social businesses, and parallelly to that, you, not we, but all together with the social entrepreneurship, their followers and their organizer should advocate to local and central level to build the mechanism to regulate these social enterprises the better way possible in order to make them long-lasting and profitable, not in terms of financial profiting, but in social profiting as well. Media, it's one of the main partners that needs to be following all the development, not only of social enterprises, but NGOs as well, and citizen action as well, because media in all its forms is the fifth power, and without that, cogito ergo sum was the old Latin saying, but twito ergo sum, says a friend of mine. If you don't tweet, if you're not on the media, on Facebook, just a few people will know what you are doing. Even in local level, we need a lot to do on social enterprises regulation, but since we are all in the same line with the legislation of the European Commission, and the strategy, as the international strategies on said development should be regulated altogether in order to have agreements among members of the European country to make these social enterprises work. And my last recommendation generating from the speaking of the first speaker here of the very interesting lecture is that before doing social enterprise, before doing e-democracy, we need another big E. We need education. And we need education at all its level, because behind gadgets there are people, and if we don't have educated people all around wherever we are or we come, we won't have a successful e-democracy or social enterprise development. Thank you very much.
Let me give the floor now to Petko Georgiev. He is the president of ProInfo Foundation, the leading partner in this consortium.
Good morning. I'm the head of ProInfo, which is the lead organization in this consortium. So ProInfo, Google, Hangouts, and the local IST providers, we took care of organizing all the technical problems that everybody had during the debates. Of course, I'd like to blame it all on Google, but I believe part of it should be me as well. My background is in journalism and in civic activism. And I've been thinking about this project from my background in journalism as well. Joint Citizens Action for a Stronger and Citizen-Friendly Union. You know, in journalism, the last 10, 15 years have been really, really very tough and very critical. Everybody who has dealt with the media knows that this transition from the traditional broadcast channels and printed newspapers to the new reality of multi-platform journalism and online distribution has been dramatic and traumatic for many, many journalism organizations. Many newspapers have gone under, TV stations are struggling across the world, and it's not just the financial crisis. It's a combination of the new technology which makes distribution easy, the diversity of sources and resources and competition and so on and so on. Then let's try and apply the same approach to the political process. This is what is happening with the political process as well. It is going on in a traditional way, in a new media environment, in a new environment of interactive communities where the old tools don't work that well. And some countries are doing better in adopting this new kind of thinking towards the political process. Others are doing worse. And what we've tried to do in this, through this project, and hopefully after even more after this project with other initiatives, is try to transfer this new approach, interactive, three-dimensional approach to creating opportunities for change to civil activism. So let's start with the platform that we've been using. This was the basic platform that we used. All the debates were here. It included all the broadcast, all the debates were broadcast live here. There was a lot of background information. There were papers, analytical pieces connected to every of the different topics that were being debated. You could watch it here live. All the debates are here, and you can still take a look at them. Let's go to the next one. And some analytics about JoiEU. The physical participants in this project, so people participating physically by being present at the debates, over 650. Number of organizations involved, over 500. Countries where the online platform has been used and seen, all of course the partner countries, all the EU member states, all the accession candidate and potential candidates, all the European neighborhood countries. The non-EU big ones, Brazil had more views of the page than some of the EU member states, so did the United States. There were viewers in China. And there were viewers in places where you wouldn't expect to see them, like Pakistan, Afghanistan, Oman, Kyrgyzstan, places where you wouldn't really expect, you would expect people to be interested in the mechanisms of European democracy. But they are. In total, we've had viewers from 98 countries in the world, which I think is just telling already something. This is the, let's see, the top 5. Now, the most active ones are Bulgaria, Spain, the Czech Republic, Albania, and Netherlands. I think this has to do, my own explanation is that this has to do with the local internet redistribution channels. It's not about the activity of civil society in those countries. Information from this site has been embedded and distributed via other online networks, so you could see if that you have a local redistribution, a good local redistribution system, then the number of people involved actually grows. In terms of content, these are some of the issues that were found to be of greatest concern to everybody. Funding for civil society activism, the effectiveness of citizen involvement. Everywhere you go and every topic you discuss, people are really concerned about the fact that the political system is very rarely actually able to meet the growing expectation of civic activism. So everybody has been discussing during these debates ways to increase the effectiveness of citizen participation. And I think online involvement with the policymakers is an apparent answer that was given by everybody. Then let's go to the mass audience tool. JoiEU is, let's put it this, the specialized platform where you have analytical pieces and 2-hour video recordings of the debates, something that not everybody will read and not everybody will watch. It's hard to watch unless you are really interested in that topic. But JoiEU also exists as a part of this EU Civic News Monitor, which is our ProInfo's mass audience tool. This is an online aggregation and content creation tool which follows European civic news and takes most of its content from social media. Traditional, but mainly social media. Now, we've created that in about 9 months ago, and since then we've had 72,000 engagements. These are people scrolling their mouse over an article, clicking on it to read it, liking it, sharing it, every type of possible engagement. So, of course, most of the topics are a lot more attractive to the mass audience. Not everybody, as I mentioned, is interested in going in depth into the various topics that we've been discussing during the debates. Let's go to the next one. The biggest challenges. Number one, I think I started with that, and I want to underline it once again. You can't apply an offline, a traditional approach to one community which is integrated and which is interactive. So finding ways of, not just video conferencing, not just using technical tools, but finding ways to engage in a two-way debate with all that audience. That's a very serious challenge for everyone who is organizing this kind of initiatives. The second one, I think it was mentioned again by several of the speakers before that. How do you make a remote and abstract issue discussed somewhere in Brussels or in the other side of the European Union? How do you make it an interesting local story? How do you find even the term to translate it? Let's take the crowdsourcing. How many of us have a word in our national language for crowdsourcing? 1, 2, 3, okay. Well, out of the 20-something languages, well, yeah, we know what it is, but we don't have and it's actually not the worst example, because if we go to the acronyms that are being used by the EU speak type of English, then it completely becomes impossible to understand for the viewers. So how do you make such a remote and abstract issue close to the interests, to the heart, to the emotions, to the views of a local audience. That's a big challenge. And of course, another challenge where many of us feel very comfortable in our zone of friends in Facebook and in social networks, which creates what I've probably called here this augmented reality, which is quite different than the reality in society at large. So NGOs are sometimes, we tend to connect and to speak with people who think alike and have difficulties engaging those who don't. And I think that's a very big challenge if you want to be an effective in e-democracy. You have to be able to do that as well. Let's go to the next one. The way ahead. So a few of the answers to those challenges that I think are worth looking at and maybe discussing later. What has worked well is that each of our partners is already a center of debate in their own country. So they have the contacts, the local network of experts, of citizen activists, of policy makers, of citizens at large. And they are able to provide this national, local contextualization. So they are partially a solution to this problem. How do you make a remote pan-European issue? How do you make it a local story? How do you make it say something to a local audience? Interactivity of the process. We have to be a lot more active, trying not just to give a series of talks or lectures or presentations, but trying to involve everybody in what we say and what we do. Actively, not just let them speak, but let them interact in the formation of a policy recommendation or whatever we're working on. Using a lot more new media tools, user-generated content, curating good content which is already available, because good curation is the example of the EU Civic News Monitor and the huge difference between the views on it compared to a specialized site talks about the advantages of good curations, which makes the audience attracted to topics which it would otherwise have difficulties reaching to. Involving the uninvolved, it's a mantra. I don't know, what works best is probably a creative provocation, like talking about the crisis in Ukraine when everybody is geared into another issue. And what is our approach from here further? From joint debate to joint action. And I want to finish this presentation by going back to this parallel between old media and new media. The difference is not in the availability of technical tools. Software, platforms, they are becoming a lot more easier to use. They're widely available. Anybody can start using them. The real difference between traditional media and the new media is the new kind of thinking. It's the three-dimensional thinking. It's the interactive thinking. And I think this is where we as civil organizations should be going into when talking about e-democracy. Thank you.
I think we can have about 10 to 15 minutes of discussion now. Elisa, would you like to guide us to the questions or no? Yes. Just to kick off the...
Yes, maybe we can start with some questions, and while we are sorting out the technical problems. Yes. Yeah? Yes, thanks.
Okay, so the floor is yours for comments, for sharing experiences, for suggestions. Anyone? Please, yes. Just a second, because you have the mic.
Thank you very much. So we heard about all these discussions that took place in different countries of the partners. My question is there a follow-up plan, like as a whole, for the project, and maybe the different partners can take it from there?
Yes, I think it's a very, very valid question, and I think you can, Petko can share the follow-up plan.
The publication on the site about today's event, it says its headline is the forward-looking closeout, because we're really looking at activities that we are going to take from here on. Some of us are continuing with a new project which builds on this particular one, but it's already more than just debates, but involving decision makers on national and European level in a series of political initiatives. So it builds on what has been debated and adds a little bit more civic activism to it on the national level, with the impact of partners in other EU member states working. So forming, I would say, informal civic coalitions on specific issues to be debated, with a special focus on the newly elected MEPs as a way of trying to get their voices heard on European level.
Any other questions, comments?
I have a comment, and I'm Dat Akula from the Center for Public Policy Providus in Latvia. It's a think tank there. I hope I'm not the only one sharing the frustration of the organizers with regard to the quality of the Wi-Fi, and here I come with a basic question or suggestion for the EU level action. Maybe let's work on the basics before we discuss digital democracy, and getting actual free and quality Wi-Fi working in the public spaces like the library where we are today, where we want to discuss digital democracy, but are not able to do that because of the technical problems that we have.
In this particular case, it's a Belgian issue.
I understand, thanks from the applause, that I'm not the only one, and I really envy those who are able to connect to Twitter, etc., etc. I don't have a Belgian connection, and because of that, I just feel like without my hands today, so quite frustrated.
Okay. Apologies, maybe not on behalf of Belgacom. Let's have the coffee break then, now, and then we will continue the second panel. We will much more look into examples of online interaction between decision makers and citizens, because at this very panel we have been discussing mainly online participation among ourselves.
Had to say
What
that.
can we do?
I think it also helped quite with the fact that
Yeah.
you were not able to start what you wanted to
Yeah,
do.
it's really, it's not pleasant. It's absolutely unfortunately, this also happens in the office. I mean, often. Now we have another one.
Your intervention. I would like to ask you basically if you would like to translate basically let me give you a frame, because otherwise you don't understand. The digital tools basically is in your mind. We are gathering open contribution from external columnists on the digital tools. We select 8 categories about we try to all aspects of the digital life affecting us under all points of view. And basically we are getting contributions from high level, normally people, experts, or analysts and commentaries on specific aspects of digital affairs. So far, we already used a couple of reasons. Just to give you, so you are also digital chapter, for instance. I didn't understand.
No, I mean digital democracy personally and the organization.
The organization.
We're not so much into
It's not but I mean,
but I think as I referred to Estonia.
No, indeed, because I mean, for the again, I mean, Estonia is one of the best practice country here in Europe in using e-democracy and e-participation. So basically, I was wondering basically if you like.
Pronto? Ciao. Ciao, sì, sì, ti sento. Senti, hi, hello? Yes, sì, sì, yes, I hear you perfectly. Sì. Sì, sì, va bene. Io, come ti ho detto, non ho potuto seguire niente perché non c'era in streaming. Io ero sul sito tutto il tempo, ma non appariva assolutamente niente, quindi c'era solo il programma. Quindi non ho potuto seguire niente della sessione precedente. E per questo va bene che mi tenga così, perché perlomeno riesco a seguire Varetti.
Elisa, if you have time, you have a network cable and can connect you to fast internet. That make it much better. Do you have a network cable? Can you plug it in, network cable, Ethernet cable? You know, some. I will arrange for you.
Scusa, me ne occupo. Aspetta che mi
How
occupo.
much time have you left? 15? 15 minutes, okay.
Io ti dico, sono
Try
online.
to make it better.
Questo momento sulla pagina che era nel link here you can follow in streaming, ma non appare niente, c'è solo il programma. L'ho fatto il refresh